Good morning, my friends. This is Ernest Sears Jr. with S-West Consulting Peak Performance Coaching, coming to you from the lovely area of Pinetop-Lakeside, Arizona, very close to Show Low in the White Mountains. And on this Thursday morning, before heading back to Phoenix after visiting my younger daughter, I thought I would talk to you a little bit about two topics: resonance and growth. I think it's very, very important, no matter who you are, to be responsible for finding out who you really are, finding out why you're here, and finding out what gifts, what skill sets, what strengths you have that you need to cultivate to become the person that you were meant to be. And this is all of our responsibility. Each of us has a responsibility to spend time figuring out who we are, what makes us tick. What do we resonate with? What ideas, what philosophies, what people, what situations, what places do we resonate with? And we do our best to align ourselves with those people, those concepts, those philosophies, so that we can successfully move along our journey and allow ourselves to unfold and blossom into who we are truly meant to be. I believe that as human beings, we are all set on the path to enlightenment. And by enlightenment, I mean our purpose is to understand and walk in unconditional love. It's not something that we were born knowing how to do. But as we go through life and experience life, we are here to learn how to love each other unconditionally, because we're all connected. And the older I get, the more I realize the extent to which we are all connected. Human consciousness is not an individual thing that we all have individual. Human consciousness is a radio signal that we as transistors tune into. So we all have the same human consciousness. So it makes sense that our purpose in life ultimately is the same: to experience, to understand unconditional love. On the way there, we all have different paths to enlightenment. We all have individual paths based on where we were born, the sequence in which we were born in terms of our siblings, and whether we're firstborn, middleborn, lastborn, whether we had both parents or single parents, whether we live in North America or South America, Asia, third world or first world, depending on your individual background, socioeconomic status, all sorts of different benchmarks, those specific things determine individually where you start life from. But the idea is for us all to wind up at a point where we begin to understand why we're all here and what our individual contribution needs to be. So, resonance. As you pay attention to yourself and how you interact and how the world interacts with you, as you pay attention to your preferences, pay attention to what you're really good at, places where you feel the most comfortable, people that you're most comfortable with, situations where you thrive and are most successful. As you pay attention to those things, you realize that you resonate with certain people, you resonate with certain situations and places. And it's your job to pay attention to those things so that you can stay on that path of resonance, because if you're not paying attention to that, you're allowing people and places and situations and contexts to come along your path that will throw you off your journey to destiny, your journey to what your particular purpose in life is. And so there may be family members, friends, people that you've had shared experiences with that do not believe in your particular goals. They may not be your cheerleader. They may envy you. They may not always root for you. And, when you have situations like that, people like that who don't pour into you, who are not there to support you, you have to pay attention to that and figure out a way to distance yourself from them so that you're not constantly contending with them to try to reach your goal. You have to align yourself with people and situations that allow you to move fluidly towards the goals you've set for yourself. It's your responsibility. Nobody's going to swoop down and save you from these situations and people that are causing you not to be able to move towards the path that you have set for yourself. So that's resonance. That's understanding who you resonate with, who you don't resonate with. And it's really not a personal thing. It's not that those people are bad or hateful. Is it a matter of being toxic? Yes, but it doesn't mean that they're bad seeds. It just means that they don't resonate with you. There are other people in situations that they resonate with, and they have their own path to go on. And oftentimes, the way that you are, the way that you present yourself, the ideas that you have may not be aligned with theirs. And so one of the best things you can do is distance yourself from that person so that they can move along the path to their particular purpose. Because if you continue to allow yourself to be aligned with that person and entangled with that person or those people or those situations that you don't resonate with, you're also blocking their progress, right? So we have to pay attention and we have to be accountable to ourselves and responsible for our own path. Clarity. Now, once you begin to do things like that and be more mindful of what and whom you resonate with, now you are going to begin to experience a level of clarity that you hadn't before. You're going to be able to see things more clearly. You're going to be able to see your vision more clearly. You're going to be able to envision yourself doing those things, being in those places ultimately that you want to be in, and contributing to the world, to society, and contributing in a way on a larger in a bigger way than you thought possible, because you are aligning yourself and you're realizing what and whom you resonate with, now you're going to achieve a certain level of clarity that you didn't before, which is really, really, really important on the way to becoming who you're supposed to be. And these are things that you have to keep in mind. And these are things that you have to constantly ask yourself. You may do it like once a month, once a quarter, once a year. Am I on the right path? Am I aligned with the right people? Am I being accountable to my dreams and my vision for my life? Have I veered off course? It's really big. It's really important. Your time here is so valuable. And you have to spend your time wisely, because it's the only currency that, once it goes away, you can't get any more of it. It's gone. It's way more valuable than gold, than money, than anything else. The time is the most precious thing. Use it wisely, people. And that's all I have for you on this beautiful Thursday morning in Pinetop-Lakeside. So to summarize what I've talked about, I talked about the importance of understanding that we're all on the path to enlightenment. We're all trying to figure out who we are, we have a responsibility to figure out what our strengths are, what our skills are, what our genius is. We all have brilliance and genius, and we have to figure out what that is and cultivate it so that we can be the best that we can be. Not only that, we have to understand whom and with what types of situations and contexts and concepts and philosophies we resonate. And we have to figure out what works for us and what doesn't, and play to our strengths and stay in our lane and understand what your lane is. Don't spread yourself too thinly, because then you're not going to be as effective as you could be otherwise. And as you do these things, you are going to achieve a certain kind of clarity, kind of a mountaintop experience that happens more often than just once a year or once every 5 years. That mountaintop aha, I can see, above the clouds. I can look at my life and examine my life from 30,000 feet and see where I've been, where I am, and where I'm going. That happens when you do these other things I've talked about. That's a certain level of clarity that I think is the universe's gift to you. You have clarity when you pay attention to what you resonate with, when you understand the obligation that you have to cultivate your strengths. And then you really kind of understand where you need to go. The other thing is envisioning where you want to be. You have to have a vision for your life and ultimately why you're here. And as you get older and older, you have less and less time, which is the most valuable currency. So use it wisely, use it wisely. And again, remember resonance, remember clarity, and remember an obligation to understand yourself and your strengths, and that we all are on the same journey to enlightenment. But we're coming from lots of different paths and different angles. So, but we're all connected. And, that is an insight that came to me relatively recently. I'd say probably within the past 60 days, that human consciousness is something that we all share. It's the same human consciousness. We're tapping into it. It's like the cloud. We're tapping into all the knowledge that has ever been, that will ever be. We all have access to it. And so as you reach that clarity and you have moments of pause where you can reflect, you begin to experience that sensation of, wow, everything is connected. I'm a part of this whole thing. It's not just me observing it. It's like it's observing me. We're all together. So I know that was a lot, and that was kind of deep, but that's where I've been lately. And I wanted to share a little bit of what's going on in my head. But the last thing I'll leave you with is many of you are action oriented like I am. I'm a very action oriented guy. I'm task oriented. I have goals and I like to check them off. But in so doing, sometimes we can become so action oriented that we never stop to reflect. And you have to pause to allow growth to catch up to you. If you're constantly moving and moving and moving and moving, and you don't pause to reflect on what you've been doing, what is the meaning and significance behind your actions and the tasks that you've completed, and understand where you were compared to where you are right now based on all of these things you've completed, then you're not learning. Then you're not extracting those lessons from your life. You're not examining your life. And this is something that you have to set time to do. I'd say at least once a week. You need to have time where you just sit there and you just reflect, and maybe you journal on what have I been doing? Why have I been doing it? What have I accomplished? What does this mean? Where do I go from here? These are the things that we don't do enough of. And this is where growth comes in. Okay, so I know I dropped a lot on you there. Again, this is Ernest Sears Jr. coming to you from Pinetop-Lakeside, Arizona in the White Mountains. And I'm with SOS Consulting, Peak Performance Coaching. And remember, to reflect, to recalibrate, and to reinvent. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.